Senator from Oklahoma.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent the quorum calling process be initiated.
Without objection.
Mr. President, for 20 years now, I've viewed the development and deployment of a layered ballistic missile defense shield as vital to our national security. You know, the experience that we had yesterday and that what we witnessed yesterday is something that we've been talking about for a long time that was going to happen. Sometimes our DIA, the Defense Intelligence, has said it's going to happen 5 years from now, then 4 years from now. But the question is, when will North Korea have the capability of a weapon and a delivery system that would reach Washington, D.C., or any of the United States states? The adversaries like North Korea are developing ballistic missiles with increasing range and accuracy. It's important for us here in the Senate to communicate to the American people the credible, grave, and immediate threat that we face. Now, today, the world is more dangerous than it's ever been before. I've said so many times in the past that I look wistfully back at the days of the Cold War when things were predictable. We had two superpowers. We knew what they had, they knew what we had. And that's not that way anymore. Every time we get someone coming into our Defense Committee to testify, they talk about the fact that North Korea is not predictable. So we don't know what is going to happen, what they're capable of doing. I've actually been here on the floor on this issue in 2001, 2009, 2012, and this will be the third time this year. Over the last 30 years, we've witnessed our missile defense programs go through dramatic investment changes from administration to administration, depending on who's president. President Reagan, we remember back in President Reagan, how everyone ridiculed him, hitting a bullet, Star Wars, hitting a bullet with a bullet. You know, they thought that was pretty funny at that time. Right now, everything that he said was going to happen is happening and happened yesterday. In 1993, we cut, they cut out of the Reagan budget and from the Bush button, the missile defense budget request for fiscal year 1994. They terminated the Reagan-Bush Strategic Defense Initiative program, downgraded the national, this is all during the Clinton administration, the National Missile Defense to a research and development program only, cut 5-year missile defense funding by 54%, from $39 billion to $18 billion. 1996, they cut the funding and slowed the development of the THAAD program. The THAAD program we're so dependent upon right now to defend against an incoming missile in many parts of the world with our allies. They cut the Defense Authorization Bill requiring accelerated development. In 1999, they delayed it by at least 2 years our space-based infrared system called the SBIRST system, our satellites designed to detect and track missile launches necessary to coordinate with any effective national missile defense system. Then along came Bush. By the end of 2008, the Bush administration had succeeded in fielding a missile defense system capable of defending all 50 states. Here's the problem that we had. We had, during that period of time, 44 ground-based defense systems in the United States. The administration of the Obama administration cut that back down, but the Bush administration, they wanted a system that would take care of all 50 states. Here's the problem, though. All of our ground-based systems were on the West Coast, in Alaska and California. So we didn't have anything. Now, at that time, they thought that's where the threat was going to be. But during the last years of the Bush administration, the second Bush administration, we realized that we needed to do something about the rest of the country, something about the East Coast, something about Western Europe. And so we made a deal with the Czech Republic and Poland to have a ground-based system in the Czech Republic and Poland, along with the radar necessary to operate it. And I remember I was there and I had a conversation with Václav Klaus in the Czech Republic. He said to me, he said, now if we go along with building this system, we're going to incur the wrath of Russia, and it's going to be very difficult for us. So can you assure us that if we agree to do this, that you won't pull the rug out from us? Certainly we wouldn't do that. This is something we are committed to do. Well, the problem was the new first thing that happened when the Obama administration came in, he pulled the rug out from under him. So here we find ourselves vulnerable to maybe having one shot at a defense system in the eastern part of the United States and in Western Europe. Then in April, came the first of the Obama defense cuts, which began disarming America and dismantling our layered missile defense system. Additionally, due to President Obama's overall reduced budget requests for defense, there was not enough Aegis ships or missiles to meet the demand that were there. Since Kim Jong-un took power in 2009, he's already conducted more than 80 ballistic missile tests. That's far more than his father and grandfather conducted. North Korea has conducted 6 nuclear tests of increasingly powerful weapons. The latest test was September of this year. That bomb had an explosive yield estimated to be 100 kilotons, which is almost 7 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, and as much as 11 times more powerful than what North Korea tested in January of last year. At the Senate Armed Services Committee hearing on Asian Pacific strategy in April of this year, a panel of expert witnesses agreed with me that North Korea currently represents the most imminent threat to our national security. On July 4th of this year, North Korea made a major breakthrough with their first successful IBCM launching. If launched on a standard trajectory, the missile could likely have traveled up to 5,000 miles. So that's enough to reach Alaska. On July the 28th of this year, North Korea tested another ICBM. This missile demonstrated the potential ability to reach mainland United States targets with a nuclear-armed ICBM. Now, yesterday, that was the big day. Yesterday, it finally happened. Yesterday, North Korea proved that it could reliably range the entire continental United States with a test of its latest developed and newest version of the ICBM. So it's important to remember that all the power is being wielded by an erratic despot, Kim Jong-un. And we don't have the luxury of time. He has stated that his goal, and listen to this, Mr. President, his goal is to attain a nuclear capability, an ICBM that can annihilate the United States. Each and every day he gets closer to this goal, and yesterday he proved that it could be done. Secretary Mattis confirmed the technical advances displayed in yesterday's test. The missile had 53 minutes of time in flight, and Mattis confirmed that it went higher than any previous shot they've ever taken. David Wright, an analyst for the Union of Concerned Scientists, wrote that yesterday's test indicates that North Korea can now hold the United States well within a missile range. And Wright wrote, now this is the scientist, he said, such a missile would have been more than enough range to reach Washington, D.C., and in fact, any part of continental United States. So when you talk about the real threats that are out there, we now know, even though people didn't believe it 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it finally happened yesterday. They have the range that would reach the continental United States, and they've proven that they have a missile that can do that. Now, the only argument they use is they say, well, this may not have had a payload. Maybe they couldn't have done that with a payload, actually had that kind of a range. Well, that doesn't give me much comfort. So I really think that now we're to the point where we've got to recognize we're in the most threatened position we've been in as a nation, and now it's a lot easier to believe that because we witnessed that yesterday. With that, I yield the floor, Mr. President.